All right, welcome to Bible. This is it's lesson 160. Bible's not going to double up for until next week, I believe. So um, don't worry about that. Just this is Monday, brand new week. We have 2 weeks left, okay, guys? And so I wanted to do a little bit of a countdown because this is our there are 9 days after today, okay? So today would be day 10 of finishing up. And so we are headed to the end, and so 9 days after today. So have that countdown. I'll be letting you know each day. The first lesson that I do with you guys, so if it's Wednesday, it'll be math, unless there's a test. So it could be language, but hopefully, anyway, so I'll be letting you know, and then as we get to the end, you're gonna have tests, and there's lots of quizzes, and so just focus on one thing at a time, and as you get one thing out of the way, then you can move to the next thing. So don't get overwhelmed by it, but just take one class at a time, one assignment at a time, one quiz, one test at a time, and then it'll be a lot easier, okay? So first of all, I'm going to pray, and then we're going to say our verses. We're going to say them 3 times, so I'll pray first. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for your love for us, and Lord, thank you that you give us good things even when we mess up. And Lord, I pray that you would help us to trust you today, and that you would be with my students as they do their classes, that you would just help them to do their best and want to please you and want to be finishing strong and finishing well this year. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, 1 Peter 1, all right? Ready? 1 Peter 1, 18 and 19. For as much as, let's start that one more time. Got my words tongue-tied. 1 Peter 1, 18 and 19. For as much as ye know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver and gold, from your vain conversation received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Christ, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot. 1 Peter 1, 18 and 19. For as much as ye know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver and gold, from your vain conversation received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Christ, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot. 1 Peter 1, 18 and 19. For as much as ye know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver and gold, from your vain conversation received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Christ, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot. 1 Peter 1, 18 and 19. All right, and again, those are due next Thursday. And so, whenever you're ready to say those, you're more than welcome to have that recorded and sent to me, or call, and I can listen to that. So today is a review of several lessons. So the lessons on all of David up to this point. So I have lots of questions. Now, I'm not going to ask every single question that we could have from each lesson, but I've picked a few. And so we're going to go through those, and then so see what you remember, what you can say before I say the answer. And so this first one is that Samuel came to anoint the king, the new king of Israel. Okay, and when he came, the Lord told him something. All right, so I want you to finish this phrase. The Lord said, Samuel, look not on the outward appearance, for man looks on the outward appearance, but God looks at the what? Heart. Very good, okay? So man looks on the outward appearance, God looks at the heart, okay? Moving a little bit further into the story, what 2 animals was David able to kill when he was protecting his sheep? What 2 animals was David able to kill when he was protecting his sheep? A bear and a lion. Okay, very good. What instrument did David play? What instrument did David play? The harp. Good job. All right. Moving on to the next story. How many stones did David pick up from the riverbed or the creek bed? How many smooth stones did he pick up from the riverbed? 5 smooth stones. Okay, very good. Did David take the armor that Saul offered to him? No, he did not. It was too big for him, right? It was too heavy. All right. How many stones did he use in battle against Goliath? How many stones did he use? Just 1, right? Okay. And what did he do after he hit Goliath in the head with the stone? What did he do after he hit Goliath in the head with the stone? He went and cut his head off, right, with his sword. Okay, very good. All right. Moving on to the next story. What promise did David and Jonathan make to each other? What promise did David and Jonathan make to each other? They promised to always look out for each other's families. And so that was their promise, that they would always watch out for each other and each other's families. When Saul got angry, what did he throw at David and then later Jonathan? A spear, okay? Remember, he threw it at Jonathan 2 times. He threw it at, or Jonathan 1 time. He threw it at David 2 times, okay? What did Jonathan use as a sign to David that his father was not what was coming after him? What sign did Jonathan use? Remember, it was the arrow, and so he shot the arrow off, and he sent a servant boy to go get them, and he said, "No, they're beyond you," and that was to mean that it was their prearranged sign that David was needing to go on the run because Saul was not pleased with him, and he was very angry. Okay. All right. So David goes into hiding. What did Ahimelech give David from the tabernacle? What did Ahimelech give David from the tabernacle? Bread and what else? Goliath's sword. Very good. Who told Saul about Ahimelech helping David? Doeg, Saul's herdsman. Doeg, Saul's herdsman. Okay. What did Saul order Doeg to do? Kill Ahimelech and 85 priests and all their families. Who encouraged David in the wilderness of Ziph? Who encouraged David in the wilderness of Ziph? Jonathan. Remember, it was great risk to him, but he came to see David anyway. Where did David spare Saul's life? Where did David spare Saul's life? The first time that we talked about. In the cave at En-Gedi. All right, his cave in En-Gedi. All right. The next story, how did Nabal respond to David's request for food for his men? He refused, and he claimed to not even know David. Who repaid David and his men for their kind protection? Abigail, Nabal's wife, right? All right, next. What happened at Ziklag while David and his men marched with the Philistines? What happened in Ziklag while David and his men marched with the Philistines? It was plundered, burned, and the families were kidnapped. Okay. When David prayed, what did God tell him? David prayed, what did God tell him? To pursue the invaders and everything would be recovered. All right, and the next story of Saul's defeat, who did King Saul consult when the Philistines marched against Israel? Who did King Saul consult when the Philistines marched against Israel? The witch of Endor. The witch of Endor. Whose advice was he seeking? Who was he wanting to talk to? The prophet Samuel, right. What did Samuel tell Saul? That the Philistines would defeat them, and Saul and his sons would die in battle the next day. How did David respond to the news of Saul's death? How did David respond to the news of Saul's death? He mourned, right? He mourned. All right, before we move on to the last, I have 5 more questions, but before that, I want to sing one song. All right, I want to sing David because, of course, we're talking about him. So we're going to sing both verses, so just try your best to follow along and sing when you remember the words, and then we'll get through it, okay? Young David was a shepherd who worshipped God in song. Goliath was a giant who boasted all day long. Young David only had a sling against a giant sword. Goliath had his armor, but David had the Lord. Oh, put your trust in David's God and watch the giants fall. Bigger than giants are, and he can kill them all. Just learn this truth that David learned. Don't trust in spears and swords, though giants may be 10 feet tall. The battle is the Lord's. Young David took his slingshot onto the battlefield. Goliath came to meet him with armor, sword, and shield. Young David then took careful aim and hit the giant's head. Goliath quickly tumbled, God's enemy was dead. Oh, put your trust in David's God and watch the giants fall. For God is bigger than giants are, and he can kill them all. Just learn this truth that David learned. Don't trust in spears and swords, though giants may be 10 feet tall. The battle is the Lord's. Very good. Thank you for joining me on that. All right, I've got 5 questions left, and they're from Friday's lesson. I'm sorry, not yesterday, but Friday's lesson. Okay. How long was David the king over Judah? How many years was David the king over Judah? 7.5 years. Very good. All right. Now, there were 3 brothers, remember? There was Joab, Abishai, and Asahel. Which brother was killed for chasing after Abner? Which brother was killed for chasing after Abner? Asahel, very good. Who was the king? Who did Abner set up as king over the rest of Israel, not Judah? Who did Abner set up as king over the rest of Israel? Ishbosheth, right? Ishbosheth, he was Saul's son, all right? Who killed Abner? Who killed Abner? Joab, right? And who killed Ishbosheth? Who killed Ishbosheth? His 2 servants, okay? I didn't give their names. They do have names in the Bible. I didn't give them because they're a little harder to remember, and so I didn't give those 2, but it's just the 2 servants of Ishbosheth killed him while he was in his bed. All right, that is all the questions that I have for you today. I just wanted to give a good review. We will have a final test on next Wednesday is how I moved it. Move some of the exams around so that you don't have all of them on the same day, and you don't have more than 2 or 3, depending on what type of the final tests or exams that you have. So I will let you know exactly with each class which day your test will fall on, and so Bible will be Wednesday. The final verse quiz is the Thursday, but you can send that in early if you have it ready, or call, whichever you choose to do. So just make sure that you're watching these videos. If you want to come back and watch this video, it is a review lesson. So if you want to come back and watch this one again to help you review for that final test, you can do that. There will be another couple review lessons at the very, as we get closer to the end. So I'll put those on there. But this one would be a good one to come back to if you need it. All right. I will let you go and have a good day, and we will see you in the next lesson.